Having female leaders in positions of influence to serve as role models is not only critical to the career advancement of women, but stands to generate broader societal impacts on pay equity, changing workplace policies in ways that benefit both men and women, and attracting a more diverse workforce. So many reasons for us at dentsu to found the Her community, having equal rights. Okay, back at the table with Richelle Werners, Insights and Effectiveness Consultant, and Kika Douglas, Chief Creative Officer at dentsu Creative. I'm so happy to be here. Today we're talking about the Imposter Syndrome. Well, it sounds already the title, right? Sounds very interesting. Can you tell me a little bit more? What is Imposter Syndrome?
Sure. So I think the name says a lot of the Imposter Syndrome because it's really that feeling that we can have sometimes of being a fraud, of being an imposter in our job, that somebody is going to find out that we're not good enough and that we shouldn't be there. That's really what the imposter syndrome is about.
Yeah, for sure. It's not an official syndrome, but it is something, a term that's been around for quite some years. I think it's from the 70s. And the first research that was done into the topic was focused on high achieving women. So especially women in leadership, because they saw that especially women in leadership with in high achieving functions, a really important function, had these feelings of being an imposter or being a fraud, maybe not being the right person for the job. I think that was especially the case in the 70s, where maybe women in leadership was even less the case than nowadays. So yeah, and I think it's also not gender specific. In the beginning, they really focused on women when researching this syndrome, so to say. Yeah. But it is something that a lot of people have had experience with, or had feelings of feeling like an imposter, or maybe just feelings of doubt regarding their career, regarding their work, and especially regarding their achievements.
Yeah, it does happen with minorities more, so not necessarily only women, but it can be different ethnicities, collectives. And as Richelle was saying, it some of the symptoms of this imposter syndrome is like a really harsh self-doubt, berating your own success, being unable to assess your skill set and your capability to do things. And this inner critic voice that sometimes can be quite extreme and can lead to depression, to burnout, anxiety. So it's, I think it's quite common, but it also can be quite brutal if you don't talk about it or let it take over this inner voice, right? The Kika killer or the Richelle killer that is just talking you down and telling you that you're not good at the job you're doing, or that you shouldn't be there. I think a common example of imposter syndrome would be when there's a promotion and you maybe have 9 out of 10 skills that are in the job description, and you're still doubting yourself and saying, no, I'm really not capable of this. I shouldn't.
Not ready yet.
Apply to the job, right?
Yeah. So you'd really need some allies, right? Some other women to empower you to take that step and to overcome that nagging inner voice. Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah. And Richelle, earlier today you spoke about 2 different, basically, ways that the imposter syndrome is being expressed.
Yeah.
Like, what are 2 of the basically like safety behaviors that you see happening?
Yeah. So from what I've read, you can actually see that some people are becoming really strict with themselves. So they're probably like overworking, overachieving. They have this maybe like not per se set of rules, but they really think like, okay, I should know everything about this topic. They become really perfectionistic. And eventually, of course, you're not going to have a good time, and that can lead to burnout. So that is a way in which imposter syndrome can like manifest itself. But another way is that you really become hesitant with going for that promotion, like Kika just said, or asking for a raise, or just not going after the things that you really want and that you perhaps deserve, because you are a well-functioning person within the company. You are doing a good job, but you just feel like you don't deserve it because you're not ready. You're not there yet. You don't know anything. You don't know everything already about a specific topic.
Yeah.
So it can kind of like manifest itself in two ways, probably more. But from what I've read, there's two really distinctive ways. Yeah.
And do we see it more often with certain personalities? Are there particular characteristics that are basically driving also the development of the imposter syndrome?
I think so. I think for me, I've said it before in the introduction, but I'm a really perfectionistic person. I've always been that way. I've always been the person who rather do stuff like work related or school stuff by myself, because I know that if I do it, it's going to be, it's going to be good. But the way in which I go towards it and product is not always maybe the most healthy or the best way to do so. Like studying too hard, focusing too much on the topic or on the information. From what I've read online, I saw that a lot of perfectionistic people have the tendency to have like these self-doubts or moments of self-doubts. Yeah.
I think it can be related to some characteristics or personality traits, but I've also read a lot about the topic, and in some cases it's also comes from way behind in your life. So sometimes the upbringing you've had, you've had a very authoritarian parents that brought you up in a way that, with very strict rules that wouldn't really explain to you why you had to obey them, but just you have to do it because they said you had to. Also creates this feeling in grown-ups sometimes. And in other cases, it's because you belong to a minority and there's not really examples around you of people in a position that you aspire to be. So just because there's that lack of representation or visibility, you feel you can't be that person.
Yeah.
So I think there's a lot of different factors that can influence. I'm, for example, not a perfectionist. I wouldn't call myself a perfectionist. I think I am an overachiever a bit, and I always feel I have to overperform. And I also experience imposter syndrome. So I think there's more than just one cause or reason to experience it.
For sure.
And Kika, earlier today we spoke about the fact that you experienced the imposter syndrome more so than in your earlier years in your career.
Yeah.
Like, what do you think is the reason for that?
Yeah, that might sound strange or not logical, right? That I experience more imposter syndrome now at a higher point in my career than when I was younger. I think the lack of representation sometimes might be it. I think the more, especially in the creative industry, it's changing, but there still are less women that are in leadership positions. I think that might sometimes generate some doubt. I think also just the pressure, the need to perform, the responsibility you have towards your team, and just
to do the right thing.
Yeah, to
be the right example.
Exactly. I think that also puts some pressure.
Yeah. And for you, Richelle, do you have any personal experiences, or do you feel it's more now than at the earlier stage in your career, or has it always been very dominant?
Well, for me, it was really at the beginning of my career, like when you just get out of university and you're really trying to be the best version of yourself, but you don't know everything yet. And then you really want to perform, but you're also like really new to everything. So that was really a moment for me in my career when I had like the most feelings of imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
I remember very well when I had to present something that I've been working on with my team for quite a long time. And I was asked to present the strategy to our client. And I really had like moments of doubt where I was like, am I the right person to do this? Why are they going to listen to me? Maybe someone else from the team should do it. Like really thoughts like that, which are not helpful at all for your confidence. Yeah. But since I am actually a perfectionist and I have had these feelings for a long time, the older I get, the better I get at dealing with those feelings.
That's hopeful.
Yeah, because feelings are not facts, right? I mean, you can feel a lot of things, but that doesn't mean that it is true. Yeah. As I'm getting older, I'm getting better at dealing with like those feelings and those thoughts. So I'm more in like don't know if I can say it, but more like a fuck it mentality right now. Like we'll see, it's going to work out and I'm just going to go for it. And
you're good enough.
I'm good enough. Exactly. And if not, I'm not, then there's not a big problem there. We'll try something else. Yeah.
Perfect. Well, there's so much more I think we can talk about, right? When it comes to this topic. So I'm grateful foremost, but also very excited that both of you are tackling this topic at dentsu. I certainly think that there's lots of things that we can do to support people, support women, but also men dealing with the imposter syndrome or maybe some elements. So, let's work on it. So we make it a more open environment for people to speak up when they are dealing with those feelings. So we can really motivate people to thrive. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you, Monique.
Thank you,
Richelle.
Thanks.